All right, so you're ready to dive into some pretty heavy stuff, like where AI and eugenics kind of dot collide.
Yeah, buckle up. It's gonna get deep.
Well, it sounds like, a sci-fi movie plot or something, but
Yeah.
this is a real conversation that's happening. We gotta talk about it.
Right.
So we're diving into this article, Why Won't Eugenics Ever Go Away? Tech, AI, and the Displacement of Humanity, and
By Jaime Hoerricks.
yeah, by Jaime Hoerricks. Now, when you hear the word eugenics, you might think, oh, this is like,
Yeah, like a history.
some dusty old history book.
Yeah, a relic of the past.
But this article is arguing that, like, at the core, the ideas, they never really went away.
Yeah. It's just morphed.
It's how we think about tech now, and it's how we define what it means to be valuable, to be human even.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. Eugenics, I mean, it's some dark, dark history,
The
right?
forced sterilizations, horrific experiments.
Yeah, I mean, Nazi Germany.
Nazi Germany. Like it's the worst of humanity almost.
And it's chilling because this article, it connects that history to AI, to what's going on right now.
Right, right.
Like, it highlights how autistic individuals, they were specifically targeted back then, labeled as defective.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder, are we going down that same path?
Yeah.
Just with different labels, different
Right.
language.
Yeah, maybe fancier words, but maybe the same ideas.
Same idea, right? So it's not so much about, like, breeding programs, like literally trying to, engineer humans anymore, but
Yeah, I mean, not in the same way.
it's about who's valuable. Like, in a world where, AI is taking over more and more, who matters?
Right.
So the article, it kind of calls out these tech leaders, like Dario Amodei, Sam Altman,
Yeah, the big names.
the big names who have this, like, almost utopian vision of AI. Like, AI is going to solve everything.
Right, right.
But they kind of gloss over, like,
Yeah, come on.
the cost. What about the people?
Mm.
What about all the jobs that might be lost?
The people who can't keep up,
Exactly. What happens to them?
Yeah, the article doesn't sugarcoat it. It straight up says, like, this isn't like a flaw in capitalism.
Hmm.
This is how it works.
It's a feature.
Yeah, like profit over people. That's kind of baked into the system.
Right, right. And then there's this concept in the article. It's called marginal returns to intelligence,
Yeah.
which is basically saying, like,
After a certain point, intelligence doesn't equal value anymore.
yeah, it's like, it's kind of dehumanizing, It's like where it's a
Data points.
data points, yeah, on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to, like, okay, so what happens to the people who are left behind
Right.
in this, like, AI-powered future? The article doesn't paint a pretty picture, especially if you're, already kind of on the margins.
Think about it. Like, autistic individuals, they already face an 80% unemployment rate.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And AI is coming for a lot of the jobs that, like, a lot of autistic people excel at.
So where does that leave them?
It's exactly, guys.
It's scary to think about. And to really drive that point home, the article makes this, like, chilling comparison
Yeah.
to the Highland clearances in Scotland. Have you heard about this?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just brutal.
Brutal chapter in history.
People forced off their land, driven out to make way for, quote unquote progress.
Industrial progress, yeah.
And it's that same idea, right?
Sub pattern.
Prioritizing the economy over people,
Mm-hmm.
over well-being, especially if you're, considered vulnerable.
And the article is saying, like, that's not a new thing.
No.
And it's like it could happen again.
Yeah. Like with AI, it could be like that on a larger scale, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty scary, honestly.
Yeah, it's a warning. We need to be paying attention to that.
Yeah, we got to take it seriously. Like, if we're not careful, AI could be like recreating some of the darkest parts of our past,
Mm-hmm.
where certain groups are just, like, expendable in the name of progress.
Mm.
So, okay, so we've talked about the bad, right? The potential downsides. But does this article, like, offer any solutions?
It does, actually. It's not all doom and gloom. It explores some really interesting, like, alternative paths we could take, ways to use AI without repeating those mistakes.
Okay, I'm ready for some hope here. What are some of the solutions? Like, what does it propose?
One of the most interesting ideas is universal basic income, or UBI.
UBI. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
Basically a safety net for everybody, Guaranteed income, regardless of whether we have a job or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if, like, AI is going to disrupt everything, with jobs.
Yeah, people need to be able to survive.
Yeah. So UBI, like,
Yeah.
takes care of that.
Could be a way. And the article, it goes even further. It talks about these metristic civilizations, which is
Metristic civilizations. Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
yeah, so these were societies that like prioritized cooperation and well-being over, like competition and domination. And they're saying like maybe we can learn something from that, for a future where tech is actually making life better for everyone.
Okay, yeah. So instead of being afraid of AI, like it's this job-stealing monster, we could use it to, like, free us from all the drudgery, create a more, like, fair and just world.
Right. And the article points out this isn't just like wishful thinking. Like there are real world examples of societies that did things differently.
So it's not just like some fantasy. It's like there's precedent for this.
Yeah.
Like societies that valued, what was it? Sustainability.
Yeah, community, sustainability.
Over just like endless growth and profit.
Right. Different values, different outcomes.
Yeah, wow. So it's like we're at this crossroads. Do we let AI recreate all the bad stuff? Or do we actually build a future where everyone matters, like regardless of how much money they make or, what their job is?
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? And the article makes it clear, like, what we do now, it has huge consequences.
Yeah.
For everyone, not just us.
Yeah.
For the future.
Generations to come. I mean, that's a lot of pressure.
It's
also exciting, like we get to choose.
Yeah. We have agency. We're not just passive passengers.
Yeah, we're not just along for the ride. We're writing the story. So what story are we going to write? Exactly.
So we were just talking about how the article makes this comparison between like the Highland clearances and what AI could do, and it really shows, like progress, especially when it's driven by technology, doesn't always mean good things for everybody. Right?
No, it's a good reminder that sometimes progress, like in quotes, comes with a big human cost.
Yeah.
And that's something we got to be really mindful of, like as we're going through this AI revolution, right? We can't just assume that technology equals like a better future for everyone.
Right. Yeah, the article really, it digs into this idea that AI could actually make existing inequalities worse, It points out that a lot of these AI systems are trained on data that already reflects our like societal biases.
Right.
So it's almost like they're learning from our mistakes and then
amplifying them. Yeah.
So like imagine like an AI system that's supposed to help companies hire people, right?
Yeah.
And let's say it's been trained on data that shows like historically men have been hired more for certain jobs.
Right.
Well, it might unintentionally end up like discriminating against women who are applying for those same jobs.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's just one example. The article, it talks about how AI could have a similar impact on like everything from loan applications to even like criminal justice sentencing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's kind of scary to think that these algorithms, they seem neutral.
But they could actually be reinforcing the very inequalities that we're trying to fix,
Yeah. It's like that whole move fast and break things mentality that's been so big in tech could really backfire when we're talking about something as powerful as AI.
Absolutely. And that's why the article, it really stresses how important it is to move beyond just like efficiency and optimization, and actually start putting human values at the center of how we develop and use AI.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we make sure that AI is used ethically and that it doesn't become a tool for hurting people who are already vulnerable?
Well, the article explores a few potential paths forward, One of the most promising is this idea of universal basic income, or UBI.
Yeah, UBI, we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Right. The idea of giving everyone a guaranteed income no matter what.
Right. But like how realistic is that? Could we actually do something like UBI, like on a big scale?
Well, it's definitely challenging. There's no doubt about that. But the article argues that UBI could actually be essential, in a future where AI is going to cause like a lot of people to lose their jobs.
Okay.
It's like a safety net. It makes sure that everyone has at least the basics covered, even if they can't find a job in like the traditional economy.
So UBI could help with the economic fallout of AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the article even suggests that we could use AI to help manage and distribute UBI in a fair way.
Oh, interesting.
Imagine a system where AI is assessing people's needs and then adjusting the UBI payments accordingly.
Okay, yeah, now that's starting to sound less like sci-fi and more like something we could actually do. But even with UBI, wouldn't we still be stuck in this system where, people are defined by how much money they make? Like where people who can't or choose not to work are seen as like less than.
That's a really important point. In the article, it acknowledges that, UBI isn't a silver bullet. It's not going to solve everything.
Right.
It's it's just one piece of the puzzle. We also need a change in our values. We got to move away from this obsession with competition and move towards something more cooperative.
So like those matristic civilizations we talked about, right?
Yeah.
Where they valued community and sustainability and taking care of everyone, not just like the most productive people.
Right, exactly. The article suggests we could learn a lot from those societies, as we're trying to figure out how to build a future where technology actually serves humanity, not the other way around.
Yeah, it's a powerful idea. But how do we even start to like apply those ancient wisdom traditions to like modern life,
Yeah.
especially with AI in the mix?
It's not going to be easy, that's for sure. But the article argues that we have to start thinking differently, about how society is organized, about what we value, about how we even measure success.
Okay, so we need like a major paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Like we got to reimagine what it means to be human in a world where machines can do so many of the things that we used to do.
Exactly. We got to move past this idea that humans are just cogs in this big machine, and start recognizing the value of every single person no matter what.
And the article actually suggests that AI could help us with that transformation.
Yeah.
Like instead of seeing AI as a threat, we could use it to free ourselves from all the boring, repetitive stuff and create more space for, creativity and connection and build a world where everyone has a chance to really thrive.
It's a vision worth working towards, isn't it? A future where technology actually helps us become more human, not less.
It really is. But the big question is, how do we get there? How do we make sure that AI is used to create that kind of future and not the dystopian one we've been talking about?
It's going to take all of us, We got to be having these conversations, asking the tough questions, challenging assumptions, and demanding more from our leaders and from the tech industry.
So it's not just about like the technology, it's about social and political change too, right?
Right. It's about understanding that technology is never neutral, It's shaped by the values of the people who create it and use it. And that means that we have a responsibility to make sure that AI reflects our best selves, not our worst fears.
So what you're saying is we have a choice. We can choose to let AI lead us down this path of like more inequality and dehumanization.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to use it to build a world that's more just and fair and kind.
Exactly. And that choice, it's up to us.
All right. So we've talked about like the dangers of AI and we've explored some possible solutions. But there's this one question that keeps coming back to me. What about the people who are already struggling? Like the people who are having a hard time in this current system, even before we factor in AI?
That's such an important question. And the article, it doesn't shy away from the fact that, there are a lot of people who are already having a tough time making ends meet, finding work that matters to them, and just feeling like they belong in this world that's changing so fast.
So what can we do to help those people? How do we make sure that no one gets left behind in this technological revolution?
The article doesn't, offer any easy answers, but it does say that we need to start by listening to the people who are most affected, the people who are often overlooked and marginalized.
Right. We got to understand what they're going through, what their challenges are, what they hope for, and we got to make sure that your voices are heard.
Yeah, because ultimately the goal isn't just to build a future where AI exists, it's to build a future where everyone can thrive.
And that means making sure that the benefits of AI are shared with everyone and that the potential harms are minimized.
Exactly. It's about using technology to create a world where everyone has the chance to live a good life, no matter how much money they have, what they're able to do, or where they come from.
And that sounds like a future worth fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been talking about some pretty intense stuff, the potential downsides of AI, how it could make inequality even worse, and even like how the way we think about human value in this tech-driven world is kind of like echoes of eugenics.
Yeah.
But we've also talked about some hopeful stuff too, like UBI, those matristic societies, and how AI could actually make human life better, not worse.
Yeah, it's complicated for sure. This article, Why Won't Eugenics Ever Go Away? It doesn't give us easy answers, but it really makes us think about the choices we're making right now. Choices that are going to affect everyone for a long, long time.
It's like we're at this fork in the road,
Yeah.
One path leads to AI being used to give more wealth and power to a small group of people. The other path, it leads to a more fair and humane society where technology benefits everybody.
The article really makes us think about what we actually care about, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we going to let fear and this really narrow idea of progress control how we develop and use these powerful technologies? Or are we going to choose a different path, one that values human dignity, includes everybody, and has a bigger vision of what it means to thrive?
It's a big choice, and it feels like we're at this turning point. The decisions we make now, they're going to have a ripple effect for generations, you know?
Absolutely. And one of the most important things the article says is that we can't just leave the future of AI up to tech companies and engineers.
Yeah.
We need a much bigger conversation, you know? We need to bring in ethicists, philosophers, social scientists, artists.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we need to hear from the people who are often left out and ignored.
Yeah, it makes me think of that saying, nothing about us without us. If we want AI to benefit everyone, we need to make sure everyone has a say in how it's made and used.
The article really emphasizes that point. It says we need to be actively involved in shaping this whole technological revolution, not just passively accepting whatever the tech industry gives us.
So what can we do? I mean, how do we as individuals make sure that AI is used ethically and that it benefits everyone? It feels like such a big, complicated problem.
It is, but that doesn't mean we can't do anything. The article suggests a few things. First, we need to educate ourselves about the potential impacts of AI, both good and bad. We got to understand how this technology works, how people are using it, and who's profiting from it.
So knowledge is power.
Exactly. The more we know, the better we can talk about AI and advocate for policies that reflect what we believe in. And speaking of talking about it, that's another important step. We need to have these conversations with our friends, families, colleagues, our elected officials.
It's about raising awareness, starting conversations, and pushing for change.
Right. The article encourages us to challenge this idea that the tech industry often pushes, this idea that AI is inevitable, that we can't do anything to influence how it develops. We need to take back the story and say that we have a choice in this.
So it's not just about understanding the technology, it's about understanding who has the power and how we can use our own voices to influence where things are going.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point the article makes. We need to support the organizations and initiatives that are working to make sure AI is developed and used ethically. There are so many people out there doing amazing work on this issue, and they need our help.
So put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, in a way. Support the groups that are fighting for a future where AI benefits everyone. Volunteer your time, donate to their cause, tell other people about the work they're doing. Every little bit counts.
It feels like we've come full circle here. We started talking about how AI could repeat the worst parts of eugenics. But we've also talked about how it could help us build a more just and fair world.
The future isn't set in stone. We create it together through the choices we make today.
So if you're listening to this, you're a part of that. You have a voice and you have a choice. What kind of future are you going to build?